Hello, and welcome to another video in the Blade series. Today, Scott and I are going to discuss a topic that seems to be coming up a lot recently. Can I trust the chatbot to keep my information private? And we now know the answer. Not really.
Not really, no.
So without further ado, let's get right into it. Scott, the first question is, what triggered the Grock privacy incident?
Yeah, Grock. Now, Grock, for those of you who are just starting to play the game, is X's, Elon Musk's company. That's their AI. It's part of the XAI suite, and Grock is the LLM, or the piece that you actually interact with, okay? That's what Grock is all about. So this center was triggered when Grock users shared conversations using the share feature. Now, the application just has a button like anything else that says share. Bang, hit it one time, send it off to you want to, and it creates public URLs. So then, since they're public URLs, public website addresses, right, they were indexed by search engines like Google and Bing and everybody else. So then it made hundreds of thousands of supposedly private chats and other files publicly accessible. Not the goal of the people who did this.
Wow, yeah, they definitely weren't aiming for that.
No, that's not what you wanted to do.
So what types of sensitive information were exposed?
Well, you know, the way it happened, researchers and journalists started noticing weird responses to their web queries, like in Google and stuff, getting strange documents. Like if you type specific search queries into Google or Bing, DuckDuckGo, or any of those, you weren't just getting the websites, you were getting the full transcripts of all these people's conversations within Grock. So, you know, what kind of data was out there? I mean, you know, it's a lot of stuff. Business notes, code, credentials, personal health, relationship questions, other things like, you know, how to build a bomb and how to manufacture fentanyl and all these other dangerous types of prompts that were used. So, you know, this is something obviously was not the goal of the people whose data was up there. It's also important to note now that it's up there, it's not coming back down. It's out there, it's public pretty much forever.
Yeah, it's out there forever.
Yes, because they may be able to pull it out of Grock's databases, but by now it's been spread everywhere.
Yeah, now all the other
just
crawlers
like we see,
have it.
exactly, like we see with everything on the internet.
Yeah. So here's an interesting one. Was the Grock leak caused by a hack or technical exploit?
Good question. The answer is no on both. It wasn't a hack. It wasn't somebody maliciously trying to do something. And it wasn't an exploit. Someone, you know, tricked the software to do something it shouldn't. It was basically just a design choice. The guys who designed the public-facing Grock piece basically said, okay, these sharing links are going to be public default, and we're not going to really tell people what's going on exactly. They probably should have, but not a security breach. So that was what was going on with the Grock client. Whenever you click share, it would just set it out there, right?
Yeah.
To a public URL. And you know, one thing that could have helped, just one simple thing, one simple design choice would be like, are you sure?
You sure you want to do this?
Are you sure? You know this will be published to a public website. Yes, no. You know, that kind of stuff. Those would have been some really good technical controls they could have put in place to stop that, but they didn't. And as we know, we're in the wild, wild west of the development of the LLMs and the clients right now, and people are really pushing hard to be the first to market, and these are the types of errors that are going to happen.
Yeah. So it's interesting because as people are putting data into these systems, I think they have a false belief, and that belief is that stuff is going to be private. So why do the users often mistakenly believe their information is going to be private?
Well, you know, the funny thing is that a lot of people, their default setting is it's going to be private.
Yeah, they err on the side of this could never happen.
Exactly, and really what their default should be, that, you know, this is going to be public, and then make the controls over it. So, you know, the users in this case thought they were sharing things privately or semi-privately, just like with a unique URL, that not realizing that the share feature created these public URLs, and they're accessible by anybody, searchable by all the search engines. So they went into the search results now of everything. So once it gets to that point in the game, that data is out there loose forever.
Too late and it's gone.
So yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, it's literally like posting it on Reddit. Once it hits Reddit, it's
much
out there.
Yeah, same idea. I mean, you just think about it, you're throwing this stuff out there, and Google bot or whatever is not going to notice it's your personal financials. Yeah, it's just going to scan it and put it into the index.
Yeah, yeah. We used that as an earlier example when he and I were talking was, if you throw up your personal financials and say, find where I spend too much money, it's going to go, sweet, more information to learn from. And then, whatever happens.
It'll probably give you good advice on your finances.
It'll answer your question.
Yeah, and that's something I think with this technology is a little bit different than others because it is giving some, noticeable upfront value.
Yeah.
And people sometimes are seeing this value so quick, and I know the first time that you and I started using LLM clients and stuff, we were really surprised how fast and good they were. And it may make people, it might just be human nature, since something looks like it works well, that it's also safe.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But that's what everybody needs to do. You need to realize anytime you type into that prompt on whatever client you're using right now, that data is going to have a really good chance to be public.
Yeah.
So be careful.
So I guess what lessons should organizations learn from the Grock incident?
Right. Well, there's a lot of them. We're going to go through a little bit later some good guidance, but organizations have to treat any AI tool that has this capability of publicly sharing information out as a potential publishing platform. Okay, so you need to control that through your policies, procedures, and training and information security. It's not a secure notes app where you keep things like a password manager or something like that. It's nothing like that. This is you're basically just taking this data unencrypted, throwing it onto a website somewhere, potentially. That's what's going on there. So if you can share a conversation via a URL, okay, through using a share button or any other vernacular maybe in your particular application, you should assume that if you share it, it will be indexed and seen by unintended parties. It's just the nature of the beast. Now, perhaps this issue will cause Grock and maybe the other guys to look at this a little closer. Say, hey, let's put a little more controls about. It's not rocket science. We know how to control this data egress. Yeah. We just have to do it, and that's why this isn't an exploit or anything like that. It was just kind of a design choice that was made that is kind of coming back, biting the butt a little bit. So they need to go back and redesign that piece.
Yeah, I would agree. So are the large language models suitable for storing confidential information?
No, not at all. Because the thing is, they're just run by other companies. They're not run by the government, which has a little bit of security there. And they're just on another company. And if you're using those companies and you're pushing data into your clients, it's being stored somewhere, and it's not just going to be flushed when they're done with it. It's going to stick around because actually they'll use this data that you're giving it to retrain the clients to become make the AIs be smarter and better at what they're doing. So all these cloud services out there, they're run by third parties, as I mentioned, and they have logging and sharing behaviors that users can't fully control. So if you store some in there, it's not like you have a choice of saying, only let my people in my company see this, for example. Well, it's not going to matter because it's going to be out in the cloud. Your company's out; it's out of their hands, and these sort of things. So so don't use the large language models as a secure storage or as a confidant either, because I read some interesting information from some researchers about all the personal way personal questions they were asking Grock and trying to get some advice, which is fine and dandy, I guess, but it's just not, if they knew that this could potentially be published to the entire world, they probably wouldn't be that, explicit. Or freewheeling, probably a better term.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was like, once you put it out there, it's going to get out.
It's gone.
So I guess what practical guidance should we offer for safer use of the LLMs?
Yep, sure. You want to treat all these public LLMs like semi-public spaces. You don't want to paste any trade secrets, some of your plans, your marketing plans, your sales plans, financials, any of your customers' data. That'd be doubly bad potentially, because then you're creating a breach of yourself. Passwords obviously should be or anything that's regulated data, like information. If you happen to work with the Department of Defense, that information is very sensitive, and you have to handle it in certain ways. So you want to make sure before you ever share it, you want to redact or tear out any of the sensitive information before sharing it. So you just want to mark that out with a black pen so that doesn't get back out. And then you're reasonably safe. You just have to evaluate the risk towards the company and you when you start doing this sort of thing. Yeah.
Now, one thing that's been kind of a common thread across all the discussions I've been having is it feels, we were talking about this earlier, it feels like we're fear-mongering sometimes with the AIs. So rather than straight up banning AI tools, what should organizations do instead?
Yeah, banning AI tools is a bad idea for many reasons. One is you're not going to be able to, number one. And the horse is already out of the barn. Two, they're probably going to be the most powerful tools you have on your workstations within the next couple of years on these sort of things. So instead of just, and if we would have this type of, knee-jerk reaction about this, like when email first showed up. Oh no, we don't want that. People are talking to each other and we don't know what they're saying.
They can send stuff.
I know. So what we did is we put controls in place to take care of that sort of thing. And really it boils down to, three categories. You want to have policies in place for how to use this product. You want to use the proper tools. Pick a tool that works for your industry. Don't just let it be the Wild West. And I'm using Gemini and John's using Grok and he's using Copilot. Try not to do that. That's never a good thing. Try to find which one, and they're all have their strengths and weaknesses. And you can do some research and for your industry, what would work best. Pick those proper tools. And then technical control. So we kind of touched on it a couple times. So you want to make sure that you channel all the usage of this. You don't want to have like shadow IT or people running AI clients in the background that are not approved. You can take care of that with technical controls. We want to make sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen. That we have clear data handling guidelines. Make sure it's backed up by policies and technical controls like as data loss prevention rules and gateways. So those type of like a data loss prevention application can stop sensitive data from leaving the network. So that way, if somebody does put in all this financial information or a bunch of social security numbers or whatever, for whatever reason, it would get stopped at the gateway and it wouldn't go out to the wider world. So that's really important. I think that is actually the DLP-based gateway rules are going to be more and more important because we've also talked about how some of these agents like to figure out their ways around around firewalls and rules and stuff. That's something else you have to take into account.
Yeah, so they kind of go rogue sometimes.
Yeah, so then
it's not just Sally sharing out the payroll Excel anymore.
Exactly. So that comes to you may need a set of detective controls too. Nothing that stops anything, but a control that tells you when something weird's going on, and you could find weird here, and figure out, and then it'll alert you, so you're not just like find out one morning that it's been going on for 3 months or something. Yeah.
All right, so that leads me to another question. How should AI tools be integrated into a company's security program?
Right. Well, that's important because, AI type programs, you need to treat them from a security perspective just like any other program you have. So you should have plenty of existing security controls for software and these sort of things. So that's a good place you can start. You can plug it right in there. You want to make sure that AI tools aren't positioned as they're assistants. They're not systems of record, right? They're not going to be storing all of your logs of your security systems and stuff like that. It's an assistant along the way. So you want to integrate these systems with existing controls. You want to set clear usage expectations, as we talked about previously. We got to have some rules in place before we turn this loose to everyone. We want to log the activity, and we want to look at the tool behavior and vendor policies, and also I would say look at the tool performance to see what's going on. This stuff's moving really fast, and you may find if you choose a product number one and it runs really well for your company, but then it starts getting slow, and product number two seems to do a better job. You always want to be in a position where you can switch back and forth if you need to, especially when we're in such of a seminal portion of this evolution.
Yeah. So I suppose, in short, as with anything related to information, either public or private, you should always know how the system you're using will share and store the data.
Right.
So, as always, be vigilant with your cybersecurity and engage professionals like Blade when you have any questions at all about the service or system that you're about to trust with all your information. So don't go into it blind. As Scott said, make sure you have the policies and procedures to back it up. If you find this video and this information informative, I'd ask that you guys would like, subscribe, and drop a comment at the bottom there. We'd love to hear your thoughts about this subject. Scott, as always, thank you for your expertise and insight.
My pleasure.
Thanks to all of you for watching. This is John and Scott from Blade. Take it easy.